Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're talking to Dr. Cain Elliott from Filevine, who is going to be talking to us about what they do and their new proprietary file format, .vine. Cain, welcome to this little video vlog of ours.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, Horace. I'm really happy to be on with you, and like I said, virtually to meet you finally. Really respect the work that you've done and what you guys are doing at Cynthia, and happy to be on today because I think we have some shared parts of the vision of what we're thinking for legal. I'm also excited because it seems that you're a legal tech nerd. That's what I'm all about too. I think that you have to have a very particular passion for this space to really want to not only just work in it, but have fun in it. And I remind everyone on my team every day that the most important thing we can be doing is working hard to make sure we're making things better for ourselves and our clients at the same time. And I think that everybody who's in this space, usually if they stay in it, it means they have that kind of particular bug or passion for it. So it's really, really a pleasure to be on with you.
Well, thank you. It's very kind. And, it's funny you say having fun because one of our 5 core company values is enjoying yourself. So I say to my team all the time, if you're not enjoying yourself, we're not achieving what we could be as a company. So yeah, thank you.
Well, and I think everybody who has a background in legal knows that it's really hard, tough space. And so if you lose sight of the fact that it's so difficult, you lose sight of fun. There are a million other things you could be doing with your time in life, and people should go do them because otherwise it's no enjoyment at all. So we absolutely share that, and I think that's part of the ethos of Filevine and the place that we've tried to create and the community we've tried to create within our own company.
So let's start with that. Filevine, tell us what the company does and what sets it apart from others in this industry.
Yeah, so maybe I'll also at the same time introduce myself. So I'm the head legal futurist of Filevine and also senior vice president here. I do have one of the coolest titles in legal. But one of the reasons that the title fits so well is because I work with the product team, I work with the sales team, the marketing team. I work with all kinds of different teams within each of our departments to make sure we're pushing ourselves to show what we consider excellence in everything we deliver. The company itself is, I think, our best pithy catchphrase is where legal meets business. We do try to provide a platform that does a bunch of different things. We have Lead Docket, which is for intake purposes, case qualification or matter qualification. We call everything projects. So anybody listening to this or seeing it or hearing it later, if I say projects, matters, what cases, whatever you want to call them. But we have a product that does that. Our core platform of Filevine itself is a project management, case management, matter management platform. Has a million different pieces as part of it of things that it does and that it takes care of and helps people stay on task and communicate within their firms or their legal ops team or their legal org. We also have Outlaw, which is a CLM that we acquired. And the founders there, I've known them, I guess, since 2019. And I think what makes us different maybe is we want to be visionary in this field. We want to do things the way that we think we can to make them better. And we take our own paths with those. And we're very obsessed with legal. It's not a group of tech bros. The company comes out of our two of our co-founders were practicing attorneys. Yep. I myself was a CIO at a law firm for several years. A lot of our team are part of the legal world, came from either practice and are recovering attorneys or have different backgrounds that they were part of different legal organizations. So it's a kind of a shared obsession we have. And I think that obsession for legal permeates the team and the group, and is part of the ethos that really drives us and allows us to have a lot of fun doing what we do.
There's a lot there. there's a lot there, and I'm not sure I can unpack all of that. But there's a few things you said which was interesting, and I think everybody who listens to this recognizes that legal is a bit of a unique animal. Lawyers, I wouldn't say antiquated, but they tend to resist change more than maybe other industries. And I think it's because it's one of those disciplines and professions that's steeped in history, right? Like precedent is so important in legal, more so than most other professions. And when you're faced with that sort of culture, your role becomes really interesting because you're doing the exact opposite of what lawyers are so used to. You're trying to drag them forward to the future, or at least stop looking in the past, but look to the future. Where are we heading, right? Like have that in mind as you continue to walk
Yeah,
forward.
Horace, I think the best way I've heard that. So our executive vice president, Michael Anderson of product, so he always says, if you're doing this work with Filevine, we're not just building products, but we're doing digital transformation work. And I think that's true. Anybody who's in the space, you have to work with facilitators, partners, and people who want to bring people along for a journey that's usually going to be pretty long. In the tech space, we talk about the longest cycles people go through is something like 3 years. And legal adoption cycles tend to last 3 to 5 years. So you may be past the first contract with a client before they decide they kind of like it. They're not sure yet, though. So that's a unique thing about the space. I think only medicine takes longer for adoption cycles of new items.
But that's life or death. So
that's right. Yeah, let them take their time for sure. Although as we say with our clients, we get that sometimes deadlines that appear in our system, they're exceedingly important, and that's why people's failure tolerance in the space too tends to be quite low. So that's also part of it as well. Yeah,
it's a very unique sort of system. So then now, before I move on to what is the crux of what sparked this conversation today, from what I can tell from looking at Filevine, you guys are focused mainly on law firms and law practices. And with that as the context, of course, we know there are more lawyers in the world than those who work in private practice law firms. How does Filevine, or will Filevine, grow to address needs of lawyers who may not be in private practice?
Yes. So we have clients right now who are in different areas. From the thousands of clients we support right now, we have different clients who are working within corporate counsel, GCs who are using the platform. We have people working in areas of administrative law. We have a very strong base in a history with personal injury. We have insurance defense on the platform. We take a very holistic approach with legal, not because we're unaware of the specificities of all of those domains, but because we have really gathered a group who have background and expertise in all of these diverse areas. And we think we have the right tooling to be able to address those different needs. I mean, one of the things that our platform that usually draws people in is it's highly configurable. And so when people are going in there, you rarely see that any two Filevine clients have the same kind of build out in Filevine itself. So it's rarely the case. And I'll show you today 2 different areas with different build types where, we're looking at the same platform and the same kinds of tools, but we're interacting with them in very different ways that include very, very different items that are of importance to different groups. So that's a key component of what we do, and part of what we try to do in terms of bringing expertise to the table when we partner with firms or with corporate counsel groups or whoever's coming our way.
Okay, so that's really interesting, because you're saying you're customizing essentially to every single user or every single kind of client. But then now let's cut to the crux of the conversation today, the .vine file format. Part of this, I gather from reading the media, is about standardizing the file format for legal, presenting legal with a type of data structure where you're able to really capture all the information necessary in order to run an effective project matter case. I'll come back to the question, how does this fit with like ultra customization? But let's focus on .vine first. Why? Why are you creating a proprietary file format?
So I think the first thing that's really important to say is that this is not something that originated with just something that happened after our last raise and we were cooking up what's a crazy idea to do. It's not something that's just
how do we spend this money?
Yes, definitely not. And you could ask the team who's building it. We try to do everything as lean as we can so that we're delivering on time and on value for our clients. But I hope marketing enjoys that's the way I phrased it. But no, this is something honestly that comes from a shared area of passion that, the founder of Outlaw, Evan Schneier, who I think is brilliant as a coder, and he and I have become, I hope, if he sees this, he will agree, friends over the years. But I think the shared passion that we had is, when he got started in coding, when he came out of school, he was fascinated by the object of wikis, right? And I have always been fascinated by the idea that really, and I think, Horace, is a shared passion you have, that the most important IP that was lodged for legal work anywhere was in this vast repository of words and documents. And the most important or impactful thing we might be able to do in the space was extract the value from that and allow legal professionals to get that IP out, to have access to it, to be able to use it at the right place, the right time where they need it. And so that's really where Evan and I came together. And I said, you've been building the thing that's what I think is the vehicle for how this happens. And getting him together with Ryan Anderson, the founder of Filevine and our CEO, and saying, do you think this vision that Evan and I have is brilliant and on target, or are we out of our minds? And it turned out he thought we were on target. So what we've done is we've taken the tech that was built out from the very start as part of Outlaw and made that something that can happen for users who are using it for contracts, for litigators, for all kinds of different spaces in legal, and really built a back end that allows us also to open that up so that it can connect to other places. Obviously, I want the entire world to use Filevine and want to eat the world, but there will be people who won't use Filevine. But I hope the .vine file type will be something that can be utilized in other spaces in legal and with other platforms and different backends that are the data structure. So, of course, if you'd like me, I'd like to use that as a segue into showing you some pieces, because I think that would invite the right kind of questions. So
please do.
Yeah. So
share away. And while you're sharing it, what's
yes.
the vision? The vision that you shared?
I think it's the vision of legal information being interconnected, right? Reusable. And the fact that this is a really simple place to start, but mattered immensely for us and our users. I've never seen anybody in my life, professional or otherwise, want to do double entry of information. Really, you can't pick a better field where people want to be able to do. I have a little 3 things that I always nod off, or say, you want volume, you want velocity, but you need precision. There are a lot of tools that let you do volume and velocity. We all can get spammed by different tools that can do immense amounts of work at once, but you've got to be able to hit the precision line. Otherwise, you're not doing the right thing for legal. So here I'm going into, a kind of standard demo that I sometimes show. This is me drafting a talent or influencer agreement. It's for TikTok. I'm too old, I think, at this point to really understand or utilize TikTok, although I love what Alex Sue does on there. And if I ever catch any of those are awesome. Just not my jam and not something I know about. But we'll go ahead and generate a kind of agreement. And I know, Horace, your background in space, what I've seen is with, more in the contractual space. So we can start here.
Okay, perfect.
TikTok influence with Horace. I'm going to show that this is for TikTok. I've already got the agreement selected here. I pre-selected some things so we don't fill all this out on the vlog. That would be kind of annoying. Let's do with Horace there. So we'll give the .vine a title.
Okay.
I'm going to say the influencer is Emily. I don't want this to get sent outside and annoy anybody. I'll say the Filevine is the company, right? So it's using the normal lookup of the CRM functions that exist in Filevine.
Yep.
I'll go ahead and generate that. You'll see I've already got some here that are generated, so we can use those to look at. Oh, it already beat me to it before I clicked. So that's a good thing on a demo. So showing with Horace. The important thing here is what we've done is a couple things. One is we've set this up so that if we go in here, we have control over the data flow. So we can say once, pull, push, bidirectional, and synchronize. This one's set as bidirectional in the template area. So if I go here and say with Horace and hit that update, you'll notice that it's going to tell me, hey, just FYI, we're going to update Outlaw and Filevine at the same time. So the data is synchronizing so that someone's not doing that kind of duplicative double entry. The other thing that I'll note here and spread out the space, maybe I'll zoom in a little bit here for you. If someone wants to push this to PDF, absolutely. You have plenty of court websites. If we were filing motion in limine or something, we're not going to file that in a .vine. We're ambitious and we're dreamer people, but we're not crazy. We're not expecting the Court of Common Pleas in Philly to switch to .vine tonight. But so you've got your PDF there. If you want to switch out to Word, no one's perfect. You can still do that. We've got a workflow here. You can set up your own components of a workflow here to go through. So if you've got different stages you want to set up, you can have that happen. You can do checkpoints with your teams to stop people and say, hey, you know, the value on this, we want to make sure someone from finance approved beforehand so that you can control that. Of course, if I wanted to share this with you, I could go in here right now and throw this your way, right, and share it. And I could control two things here, which are important, right? One is, do I have a role within this agreement, right? Influencer company, I could say I'm part of the company here, but I could also control what I can do in the document as well from out of the box. The other thing that
saved into .vine itself, that sort of permissioning?
Yes.
Okay.
So what you'll see here too is that I've put in, you know, my information and given an extra now me as a signer, but I could pull that out and, you know, update my details if I need to. It's already got me in there, so we're good to go. But I have this control over the document. The other thing I have too is document activity. Obviously, any legal user is going to want to be able to see any activity that takes place here, any comments that are made. You know, Horace, if I wanted to share this with you, and this is an important component to the conversation that I think we'll just start on this episode, and hopefully we can continue. But the important thing is, if I put you into this document and you come in here and I say you have proposer rights, and I want you to take a look at it with me, and you want to go in here and you're going to say, nope, this is not happening, right? We're pulling, oh, I don't have control over that variable. Let me just go ahead and do something I do have control over, someone else's template. I can save that. You'll see that I have the changes marked of exactly what I did. I could restore the version, show the differences, choose to save that. But importantly here, Horace, you don't need, obviously, an account to Outlaw or .vine to go in and be able to redline this if you're not a customer or client. We don't expect, again, we want to eat the world, but I can't go and say I need to be able to be dependent on you signing up for an account to be able to complete my legal work. So you can go ahead and do redlining, take other actions as the organization or the firm allows you if you're an outsider when we share that. Also, the same thing is without having a paid account with us, if I send you this and you sign up, you can get access to all your .vine files and bring them up there without needing to be a paid client of Filevines. So you have access.
So what's the benefit though of having .vine? Like, I mean, let me propose something to you, right? And then shoot this down as an idea. You've got this data in your database in whatever format you choose, right? Because databases are so flexible. Databases are so flexible. And what you can do is you can export the text as, say, a JSON file that everybody can open. And it's got the clause structure, it's got the markup, because you can do that in JSON files.
Yep.
And then when you import it back to the Filevine system, you can then marry it back up to whatever it is in your database, which has all the metadata and tracking, etc. So why a proprietary file format when you can split the data essentially between a database and something more universal?
Yeah, so we are going to open this up when you Horst, when you start ingesting .vines, which I hope you'll do soon after we talk.
Yes.
You'll be getting them especially wrapped JSONs, right? And so what we are doing here is skipping the step of trying to go ahead and map this back out and restructure it from unstructured data that we're getting in the system. So that's why we feel it's really important as part of a document assembly tool to go ahead and structure it that way, because we do want all of these different data points in here to be accessible in the way you're describing, right? So that is definitely, that's why I think I've said this before, but that's why I think we're aligned in some of how we see this, right? Because we're taking this data and making it accessible in that way. The other thing that we can do, right, is control some features and some pieces that I can show you as well that we think are very legal specific. So that we can provide the structure. For example, today I was talking with Bob Ambrosian saying that one of my favorite pieces of this, excuse me, which I think if you're not a legal user isn't maybe the sexiest tech you've ever seen, but for me it is, we've created special section types for captions, right? The captions, as we add plaintiffs or defendants, they don't break. I spent too much of my life hitting space, 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 tab, tab inside of captions and having them break. One thing we're able to do in here, and let me switch screens on you here, and we'll actually back and I'll show you one of those because it's just fun. So let me go into a complaint. So I'm in a complaint. Here I am looking at a complaint that's ready for a Nevada complaint. Let's say we're out west, which is where I am out in Salt Lake City. But God forbid I need to go to Delaware, right? Go in here and I'm ready to go. So we've created a lot of component parts in this JSON that you can receive that are specific to legal, formatted and ready to go for ingestion there, but also have controls that you can make them standardized across your organization. But the most important part, I think, Horst, of what you're describing is I want to describe the difference between just a variable we put in here and what we're doing with a connected variable.
Yes, please, because what you've just shown on the screen here is a pretty common looking document assembly format, right? All these squiggly lines and square brackets are just variables that get replaced.
Absolutely. So, we have in here, we have elements that are variables, parties, secrets for, social, bank numbers, things like that, things you would expect, right? References to different parts of the section. So, you change section 4 and it becomes section 5, all those references change across the document. But the connected variables is a really important part to us, because if I go in and want to add a connected variable, I'm going to do this with you right now on here, hit a connected variable, and you'll see it's looking in the system of record wherever I've pointed this .vine template. And it's showing obviously the field, right? But it's also showing the human name of the field. So we also know what we're looking at. And then the important part is to the system, so that it's not taking these as just flat items, but really connecting them. It's going to take them, let's go ahead and take this date. It's going to go back and look up that this is a date type and what kind of components or pieces do I get from the database by knowing it's a date type, right? And that's Filevine, that you can connect it like this, different things that you need to connect to look at what is the data source that we're getting, and then how do we need to manipulate that when the document is being crafted, and what can we do with it? Now, the thing you immediately see here, and this is how you know we're definitely in legal tech, is you'll see we have verbose prose.
It's funny because I was looking at that going, who uses that? But it's very interesting.
It's very legal, right? So it's taking the different component parts of this, right, and opening it up and saying, like, if I have this complaint and want to say the accident happened on a Thursday, I could take that part and it'll go just look up the day of the week to give that context, right? But also I can take these component parts. If we want to put it in verbose prose there, you'll see again, it's going to give the coding, but again, I have control over that because I'm doing a lookup to know what's in the system of record. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about the connected variables. The other thing that we're doing is, obviously, as I showed you before, we're connecting the type of connection that's happening. This is a really important part that we found for our legal users is I don't know if there's anything legal loves as much as control over its data too, and the precision that you can give. So it was really
Everything
important
has to be correct. It just has.
and so it was really important for us to give users the idea of, hey, you have a way to control the way this flows. Does it flow into another system? You just want to be in the .vine. You don't ever want to look at the system record. Make it a push file. Have that data keep pushing back into the system of record. You just want to work in the system of record. Have this .vine just pulling all the time, or make it synchronous if you have team members who are jumping between the document and between other systems. So yeah, I know we didn't have a lot of time today, but that's the very shortest of introductions I could give.
Yeah, we've run out of time, but this has been fascinating. I don't feel like we've really gotten deep enough into the why and the benefits, but I feel like you've given us a few little morsels to chew on, which is phenomenal. So thank you very much, Cain. I'm
absolutely
definitely sure we're going to be looking deeper into this, and I can't wait to get my hands on a .vine to pull it apart and see exactly what's in it.
Let's do it, Horace. Sounds great.
Thank you
for
again for your
having
time.
us, by the way.